I'm Ryan, this is my brother Daniel, and this is Rolls in the Family, and today we're going to be talking about our top 3 plays from the month of September. We're getting late in the year here. I got to remember what month it is.
It was my birthday month.
It was your birthday month, so I think Daniel saw a nice little boost to his collection a little bit. Yeah, got some good gaming in with these videos. We would love to also hear if you've had recent top plays or plays that stood out to you. If you want to drop those in the comments below, it's fun to get a little discussion in our tiny Rolls in the Family community.
Or you can just wish me a happy birthday, you know.
Or you could wish Daniel a happy birthday, late birthday. Yes. So yeah, we're going to jump right into this. It's just fun to hear what's hitting the table for us and kind of what elevated some of these plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, Daniel, just kick us off. Let's get going.
Sounds good. And as always, we've got links to all these games down in the description below if you want to check them all out.
Daniel put some.
Assuming I put them there. I'm going to make that your job now so that I can yell at you. Yes. So yeah, like I mentioned, birthday month, which means, as we might see on this list, we got some new additions which got to the table, which will be fun to talk about. But my number 3 play actually came from last night. Got a gaming session, and I always love when we get these in right before we record.
It's like turning in your homework late, like at the last second. It's like, I got the game in.
I know, and I then am able to have the play really fresh in my mind. But this game is one that I think you gave to us a long time ago, and we finally are getting to play it. And this is going to go to My City. Yes.
There you go.
So My City is I guess, you would call it a legacy game, right? So it's polyomino. Each person has this grid that you're placing these polyomino city tiles into to ultimately try to place as many tiles as possible into there, and there's different scoring things, all that sort of stuff. Now, little caveat, I'm gonna try to not spoil really anything here. In the back of my mind, the picture might have a slight spoiler, and so up front, if you want to know absolutely nothing, maybe just skip ahead of me talking, because there's going to be a tiny bit here, but I don't think this isn't a game where like
it's pretty minor.
It's minor, and the legacy elements aren't like, oh my gosh, the envelopes kind of on the cover tell you what's coming, and it's fairly self-explanatory, but I'll try to keep it to a minimal. So in My City, you have these different chapters, and I want to say in total there are 8 chapters, I believe.
Yep, and then 3 games.
Yeah, and so 3 episodes within each chapter. And what I love just initially is I think Ryan and I both have had a bit of resistance or not resistance, a kind of cooling on the love for legacy games. The thing
legacy games and campaign games, like it's kind of just anything that requires us to get a consistent group and get the same game over and over is just less attractive than it once was to us.
Because I know for me, I just don't like the pressure of every time I have this group, I have to play this game. Now, sometimes if it's incredible enough of an experience, it's worth it. But we like to try, all of our games and stuff like that. Well, what I love about this is I don't feel that pressure at all I have to play this game every time. And part of that is My City is a really quick game. I mean, I think I was looking back at, we record the times of our games in the BG Stats app. And I think each one's been between 20 to 30 minutes. I mean,
that's similar how it was for us.
So they move really quick, and on kind of how the game goes is you have a deck of cards with all of the polyomino tiles, and you flip one up, and everyone has to place it into their My City board, and you have to start next to the river and then build on from there. But then as this kind of legacy campaign goes, if different elements get added, whether it's different scoring things, different tiles, kind of different, unique things happen. And then based off who wins each game and what ranking you get different things added to your city that make your city different than everyone else's. And I just think the quick play of it is really refreshing. I don't think I've played a game that feels light but a legacy game. It's kind of a
Yeah.
really refreshing blend, I find. And also it just the core puzzle element I find really fun. It's challenging. you start going, you're trying to kind of plan everything out, but it is a difficult puzzle, and especially the order. You can have a plan, but your plan ultimately is banking on that the deck flips those tiles out in the order that you want, because you always have to play connected, and so you have to adjust. And we've really been enjoying it so far. I find the new elements that get added. Again, it's not like oh my gosh, this changes everything, but it's kind of just adding a new rule, a new kind of thing, and it builds upon that core puzzle and just makes it, every time you play, more and more interesting. And the last thing with this is with how quick it plays. You get to experience in one play session. Oftentimes we'll play through a full chapter or a full episode,
3 games. Basically.
Yeah, I forget chapters, episodes. Usually you'll play like 3 games, so you get to experience a lot of the legacy elements in one sitting. A lot of the fun part of opening an envelope, discovering new things, and I find that really cool. I know you've been playing some My City as well.
I'm about halfway through, though it's pretty on pause at this point for a while. It'll be a little bit before we can get that group together again.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Like, when you think of legacy games, we played Pandemic Legacy Season 1 way back, and with some of these, like, the biggest selling point is those moments between games when you get to do the legacy stuff and get to go, oh my gosh, this is changing. I want to play the next game because, it brought in this thing. And so I think it's so brilliant that My City realizes that and is like, well, what if you don't have to wait 2-hour games to get to those moments? Because almost every other legacy game before that was much longer.
Right.
And so I love that. I also love the flexibility of, like you were saying, like, oh, we've got this group together. We don't want to feel like we have to play this game. Well, the great thing about My City is you can treat it like more of a main event and play 3 or more games back to back. Or you could be like, hey, let's quick play 1 game of My City.
Yeah.
25 minutes later, we still have a lot of night to play other games.
Yeah, we squeezed in 2 last night. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that about it. You can it's very flexible on whether you want to just do a quick game or you want to play several games. It's great with like the self-balancing. You mentioned like, the people that lose in a round or have the lowest scores end up getting the best benefits, which are like permanent benefits to your board, which helps over. So I could see this going really well with families, even if you have very kind of like differing skill levels.
Right.
How many games have you played?
So we've played 5. So we've completed the first
so you're in
chapter, and now we've played 2 in the second chapter.
Yeah, I think I've done like 13 or so. We're like a little over halfway. Yeah. But yeah, all the like you said, it's not going to. Some of the other legacy games have a little bit more like shocking twist type of reveals.
Yeah.
This, at least thus far, has not had that.
Maybe
I don't think it does. Yeah. But it doesn't need it. Like, it's enough to be like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, that changes this. And like, I want to get back in there and play with this. It's got a good, solid core system too. Like it's a fresh take on kind of the polyomino thing.
Yeah, this is the type of legacy game I'm much more attracted to, and so it's been going great so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. We'll see who finishes theirs first, and I can probably tell you it's not going to be you.
Almost certainly. Yeah, I mean, I started the campaign quite a ways back, and when I played it, one of my first thoughts was like, oh, Daniel's wife this is the type of game I think she would like.
Yeah, she really likes it.
And I thought you would too. So I ended up gifting it way back, but you guys were not really in the best situation yet.
Yeah, we were moving a lot. So now we've got a group.
Settled down.
There you go. Ryan, what's your number?
Cool. I'm glad it's finally getting I know. Played.
I am too.
My number 3 is my only current, well, if you don't count My City, which is very, like I said, very paused, my only current kind of campaign group game. It is one I have talked about in earlier months of these types of videos. This is Lord of the Rings: Journeys in Middle Earth.
This one's getting quite a few top plays. Yeah.
Our viewers are going to hear me talk about it a lot.
This is good.
Well, with a caveat. Not for a while, though. And that's the bittersweet thing here. And so we have been kind of pressing to try to kind of finish this campaign. And the campaigns aren't that long. It's like 14 games or something. Because one of our players in our group is moving to the UK for like 9 months. So we're like, it'd be really nice if we could finish this before that. Well, we got close. We literally know the next scenario is guaranteed to be the finale. Like, we've had a few scenarios that were, if we lost, it would be the last one. But we didn't lose.
You should have thrown the game.
Yeah, exactly. So now we didn't make it. He is already in the UK.
Oh, no.
So we are going to have to wait to finish it.
You'll just have to fly out there, have a big UK finish.
Little bittersweet there, but it'll be all right. And it is one thing, compared to other campaign games I've played, this one won't be as hard, 9 months later to be like, where were we? And get back into it, because it's just a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, the last play that we had, so the penultimate scenario, was just a really fun one. There's kind of two different types of scenarios in Journeys to Middle-earth. There's the adventure map scenarios where you're going out on the map and exploring, and it's kind of these big sprawling maps. But then you'll get to these battle map scenarios where it's just these like two big square boards that just have a few spaces, and it's like you're zoomed in. And either in like a very zoomed in combat scenario, or sometimes even like not really a combat scenario. Like we had one where you're going around and talking to people and trying to figure out what's going on. And what's so brilliant about the system is the rules for both are the same. Like they have this flexible rule set of your actions are always either, you do two actions on a turn. It's either move, which you can move up to 2 spaces with a move action. You either interact with something on your space, or you attack. And so those same actions work on either type of map. But what was particularly fun about this one was just seeing how the designers are kind of pushing what you can do with this battle map, because they have all this different like terrain and stuff they can bring out. So this one happened to have like a river running through it that had its own like kind of rules, and there was other stuff going on. And so it's just cool to see like, oh, like they can do a lot with this system as far as fresh scenarios and stuff. And it was just a good, solid scenario. I also thought it was fun. We're kind of at the point in the scenario. Obviously, we're almost at the end of the campaign. So we're at that point where we feel like we've really kind of realized the upgrade paths for our characters. Like we've gotten a lot of the high level cards for some of the classes we've been getting experience in. And so it was also a fun scenario of getting to just kind of like use some of this cool stuff we've acquired and just like feel, good. You just feel powerful with some of these things. I'm Legolas, and I've definitely leaned into powering up a lot of just my like ability to attack things and stuff. And in this particular scenario, I got my Legolas starts with this upgrade, which if you can get it out, allows me to shoot 2 spaces away instead of just 1 space away with my ranged. So then that lets me kind of like sit back, and it was just fun how the scenario played out. And then the kicker on top of it is the whole scenario we finished in under an hour. And that's another thing that just compared to other campaign games like this, like, and it's actually not that different from what we were saying with the Legacy, where in Journeys to Middle-earth, between scenarios is when you get to spend your experience to upgrade your deck and do some of these other things. That's a fun piece of the game, and getting to then bring those upgrades into the next scenario. So when a scenario only takes an hour, that's like really nice, because you can get into another scenario.
Yeah.
Now it has a little bit the downside of it is a hard game to predict how long scenarios are going to take, because we've had them range from, I think our shortest was like almost a half hour, but then our longest was like over 2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And so
it doesn't warn you at all of like this one's longer.
Well, and I don't know that it can, because there's a lot of variables as to when it'd be long, but I haven't seen any indicator. So what makes it hard sometimes is when we get together to play and we do one scenario and then we go, okay, we have 2 hours left. Like, do we risk it? That because if we hit a long, if it happens to be a long scenario, we're going to go past where, and that's kind of actually what happened here. Is we had some time that we could have played the final one, but it wasn't. It was like an hour and a half, so it was like
and the final
and with it being the last
one,
yeah. So it is one downside to that game is you always feel like if you have a hard cutoff, it always is hard to decide like should we do another one or should we not. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Some fun recent scenarios. You won't hear about it for a while, in all likelihood, because I'm probably not playing it for almost a year.
So sad. So sad.
But it's been a good time.
You're like at the peak of the campaign, and
what's funny is like the campaign does have like a variable amount of scenarios depending on like what you do, and I think we made it the longest it could have been.
Wow, you guys
like
are so good.
Some of it is winning. Some of it, though, is I think we like chose to do something that was like an extra side scenario that if we had chosen not to do it, we probably would have just progressed on the main.
That's weird
path.
that winning makes it longer. I feel like most legacy games are usually like, you lose, you play the scenario again or something, and it makes it longer.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I like about this game also, is I like that you never have to replay scenarios you lose.
Yeah, that is nice.
Like, unless you have the time to just play a game a ton, it's a little annoying to have to like retry scenarios.
Right.
But I think it works out pretty well thematically because, there's basically points where it's like, well, if you don't achieve the objective in this mission, like all is going to be lost before we even get to, so... Yeah. I think it kind of makes sense that there's kind of a tiered at the end, like multiple places you could lose because you kind of have to achieve all this to win.
Gotcha. Nice.
But yeah, it's been good. And the whole group, I mean, this is a testament to our enjoyment of the game, is like, man, it would be fun to start another campaign, when they're back. And
that's great.
Because there's all the different characters and classes and there's other campaigns available.
Well, we await for next year to hear more about how Ryan's campaign finishes. Subscribe so you can, because I know you're just eagerly waiting to hear how this finale finishes. Awesome. Ryan, I'm going to be coming in here with my number 2 play of September. A game that I got for my birthday, a game that I got from you and the siblings for my birthday.
Look at this! I'm gonna have given you every game that.
I know this is so great, and a game that you own first, and I think when you first like showed it, I was like, this looks fine, and playing it, I'm just like staple must have, and this goes to Cascadia. I actually got to play Cascadia 3 times this month, despite my birthday only being like a week and a half ago. So we got to play it multiple times with a couple different groups. And this game, the reason it was just a must-have for me in this month confirmed it is it just has such a beautiful blend of being so accessible while also offering some really interesting, deeper strategy in it. And I find it blends those things too well. And the core of that is in the paired drafting mechanic where it's so accessible because I mean, the rule, you just pick one and you place the tile. You don't even have to, you can place it wherever technically, as long just adjacent to one of your things. And then you place the animal in a place that can hold the animal. I mean, little kids can understand the rules to this game, but then
they might not do well, but they can play
exactly. And that's actually a huge pro to me is, if for families, I mean, this is a great game. If you just want a game that, hey, your kids can play and they're not going to be breaking rules, you can do that. And you can also have they can learn the deeper strategy to it. And really the strategy, it's this combination of kind of, 3 different things that you're thinking about when picking what pair to draft. And it's one, you're going to place your tile and there's 5 different terrain types. And at the end of the game, you're going to get a point for every largest group of terrain for each type. So you're trying to build like terrain together. So that's one thing you're thinking about when placing. Then you're also thinking, okay, well, that tile, what animal type is it going to give me if I place an animal on there? Because all the animals score in unique ways. And so not only am I placing it for the terrain, but I'm also placing it based off where the animal is going to be related to all the other animals in my thing. And then also you're taking an animal and you can place that animal anywhere. And those 3 things all together, it's like you're placing an animal for current scoring, and obviously the terrain is current scoring, but also the animals that are on the tile is like a potential future scoring thing. All of that together, I find, is just, it makes for really interesting strategy in the game. So in one of the plays we were playing, these animals are randomized every game, and I think they already sounds like they're going to make an expansion to add more variety to it, which is again just like a must buy. That's fantastic.
Not to mention it's gonna bump it to 6 players.
Oh my gosh, that's huge. That's really really huge.
Not a lot of games that play.
So in our game, for example, we had the bears who, if you want a pair of bears next to each other with no other bears next to them, so that's how the bears work. And then the elk want to be in a straight line with the max being 4 in a row in a straight line. So you're thinking that for elk. The foxes want unique animals next to them. For every unique animal adjacent to a fox. The hawks don't want any other hawks next to them. And then I think the salmon, it was that you could have like the run of salmon, but they just can't be in like a cluster. And it's, a point for each one of those. And again, those are randomized. And so all of that together, you're trying to like maximize everything in your on your thing, but it can be really tough sometimes because you're like, you're bringing all these things together. But it was our parents were visiting us, and so our mom played this with us, and she loves it, even though she's not a heavier gamer. Really enjoys this game because I think the rule set is pretty simple, but it does offer just some really interesting decisions.
Super accessible theme.
Yeah, accessible theme. I mean, this is one that I just, again, kind of falls into that group of games where people, if you're starting a collection, if you're, games to consider when first building out a collection, I think this is really high because, again, just accessibility with strategy. Plays in about, I don't know, an hour maybe, I want to say.
It depends on the number of players. I actually played it this month 2-player, and we played it in a half hour.
Okay,
so it's probably like 15 minutes per player.
Something like that. So yeah, I mean, played it, and the thing is, like, I could play with the exact same 5 animals a second time, and just the way things come out, it's just different. You're always have this interesting new puzzle that you're dealing with. So really, really love to own this one now. Yeah.
I think it has a good, you were talking about like when you're picking those paired drafting, you're thinking about like those 3 things, and like you're always having to make sacrifices. Like usually what you're taking is not perfect. It's like, okay, I'm taking this because it works well with my terrain and it sets up the animal well, but I'm taking an animal that I don't really want. To do that. But then another side effect of that is there is the occasional moment where you do get the perfect pairing. And that's just a great feeling because it isn't the norm in the game. So when you get one that's like, oh my gosh, this is perfect on all 3 of those, or even gives you the opportunity to feel clever because you're like, I spent a pine cone to take like 2 that weren't matched up. And those were perfect. So not only is it perfect, but I feel clever for spotting it.
Right.
I think it just has so many good little moments, and it's a weird combination of like really laid back, but like kind of crunchy puzzly.
Yeah. I've said this to people. You can think as much as you want to in that game. Because you could just very simply grab stuff, place it down. But man, it can get crunchy if you're really processing all of the elements together, which I think that has both of those is really great. So there you go. My number 2, Cascadia.
There you go. My number 2 is much heavier than Cascadia. Not nearly as accessible. Not one I'm going to pull out with the same crowd.
A horrible game, not accessible.
But it is also about animals. And this is about building a modern zoo.
Wow, I didn't know you got this
hot game, Ark Nova. This has been kind of a hot one in my collection as well recently. It's one of the newer big games I've gotten. I don't get that many really big or that often just because I really like playing the ones I have, and it's harder to get those to the table frequently. Ark Nova has really been a great one, though. It feels different than ones I have. It really hits on a lot of what I really enjoy in the game. And it's been fun. This session kind of reminded me of, now that I've gotten to play it a few times, just the fun in like getting a new board, because the variable boards have like different things on them. And then just the different ways the cards push you into different strategies. So in this particular game, I had the board, I forget, it was like outside areas or something. So it has this spot that any enclosures that are touching that spot can hold more than their capacity. I think it was by like 2 or something. And so my whole strategy was around like starting to curl around that with like as many enclosures as possible so that I'm able to go after some of these big animals that normally would take a lot more effort to play because I would need bigger enclosures. And so that was interesting how I got that going. And then the way the cards came out and things, I started kind of I got into kind of this bird strategy. And I ended up to the point where like every bird tag I was playing, I was getting, I think 3 appeal. And I got like the perception ability where you get to look at cards off the top of the deck and keep one of them, I think. So it was this really good, like, self-supporting strategy because every time I'm doing it, I'm getting the ability to get more cards and maybe finding another bird card. And just, yeah, it all just comes together so well. And like, we love these types of games, the big deck of unique cards. And like, I have to figure out what to do with the ones I'm getting. And yes, there's a lot of luck that comes with that. Though I think Ark Nova gives some nice ways to mitigate it. But yeah, it's one that I am itching to play more. Like it's elevating into that category of like that weight of game for me where I almost never don't feel like playing it. Like if somebody was like, hey, what about Ark Nova? And actually evidence of this month, I played it twice within, it may have even been back-to-back days. I think I had played it, and then the next day I had a game. It was like an impromptu 2-player game, and then the next day I had a game day, and they were interested in playing it. And it was like, I'm down. Like I enjoy playing it. I'll remember the rules better because I
no kidding.
So yeah, it's been a great addition. I'm pretty pumped about this Marine Worlds expansion that's getting released. Like it sounds like
it's getting very positive reviews. Yeah.
Very positive reviews. Adds a lot of cool elements, but adds the at the beginning of the game, everybody gets 2 of their 5 action cards swapped out for a unique one that has a unique ability, and there's like 4 different ones for each action. So suddenly crazy. From the very beginning of the game, you are completely different. And that is just like exactly the type of thing
that's the type of thing that Ryan and I just go like, oh!
Yeah, it's like another piece of variable setup, another little variable into that puzzle of how am I going to approach this game? Because like now I'm good at these things, or like, so yeah, that'll be a must get. And yeah, I'm pretty confident now after, what have I played it 5 times now? I'm pretty confident that Ark Nova is going to be in the collection for the long haul. It's always a competitive niche in the collection. Yeah. I've gotten rid of some good games that are in that like longer strategy just because it's like they have to be some of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean that's really the highest praise you can give a game, because I would say that is your most competitive niche. That for sure. like your favorite games fall into that.
And we've talked about it like in other niches that are like maybe harder to find games in it, or like, for lighter things. I'll be happy to keep a game around that for me is a 7 or a 7.5 because it fits the situation well.
We just reviewed Sushi Go Party, and that's a perfect example of that. We both keep it because it fits that, large player.
But in this category of longer strategy games, these are the type of games that are like have potential to be my favorite games of all time. And if you're going to be in that category, you really got to be like a 9 or above for me to keep around. Because otherwise I just don't, and we're maybe different from others. There's some people that just love playing a lot of different games, and we do enjoy that, but we definitely love playing our favorites over and over and over.
Right.
And so every time I'm playing a game that I think is an 8 out of 10 is a time I'm not playing those games that are my 9.5s and 10s out of 10.
You're not farming in the 17th century.
Yeah. If there's anything people have learned on this channel, that's what really gets me going.
Right.
But yes, Ark Nova up there. Excited to play it more. Some good sessions this month.
That is so great, man. That's a game I absolutely want to play more too. Definitely once you get that expansion, we'll have to try that out sometime.
Daniel will always have a little tier for when we talk about Ark Nova that was originally his copy. And
well, the good news is the people we were playing games with last night love Ark Nova and already have the expansion on order. So
nice.
Yeah, shout out to
you have a way.
Yes, I've got a path to
you
play
just have
Ark
to not
Nova.
invite your wife to game night.
Yeah. No, we'll get her. We'll get her playing it again. We'll see. Okay, Ryan, number 1. Here we go.
Number 1.
got some guesses here. We'll see how this goes. My number one was also played last night. A game.
Daniel just really
last
came
night,
through
man.
last night.
What a night! What a night! I didn't even sleep last night. I just was so happy after those plays. This was a game I also got for my birthday. Not from you. It's from my wife.
Dang.
Sorry, Ryan. But a game that had been on our radar for some time now because it is just popularity wise in the board game world.
It's been a must buy for me.
Wow,
for like
Ryan,
a year.
you know what it is?
I know what it is.
You know,
I mean, you've given some pretty. I knew what it is before you gave those clues.
I know. So I'll just announce. It's going to go to Heat Pedal to the Metal. So excited to finally get this one because it's been out of stock a lot. It's been kind of hard to get, and so I got to play it for the first time last night. Wow, did that game deliver? For what? I mean, so one thing in just both of our collections, because spoiler, Ryan and I both own this now. Ryan got it as well. I didn't have a racing game really. I think we way back in the day had Formula D. And that was kind of a similar, in terms of being a racing game. But I think the biggest challenge, I was thinking about this more kind of last night, the biggest challenge in a racing game, from what I want, is a game that gives you enough control over your car where you're not just chucking dice, but you really do feel like I have a lot of and there's strategy to it. I think maybe that was, I mean, there was some strategy with Formula D, but at the end of the day, you're throwing dice and seeing what happens. But also I find if you lean too much into the skill part or the strategy part of a racing game, sometimes you could fall into the trap of there not being enough opportunity to like catch up or to, make a big move.
Yeah, it is interesting because like a racing game is basically a big victory point track in a way. And because you're always looking at it, it's just so obvious when someone's really losing.
Yeah.
So it like is just more evident in racing games than other. And I think another thing to your point is the more realistic strategy it gets, the less it feels fast. Because it starts getting bogged down with a lot of rules, and then it's like, it's a racing game, but look at us crawling around this track as we like work through all these mechanisms.
And that's where I think the mechanics of Heat just deliver exactly what I want to feel from this, which is a game where I'm flying around the track, and yet I'm also having to make really kind of shift down, shift up, and the whole mechanic of managing heat is just so good, because heat's interesting. You're the main area where you're oftentimes getting heat is either on your turn you could spend a heat to boost, and sometimes making a strategic boost is huge, especially when you're coming curves, which so much of the game is how you hit the curves. And if you can hit a curve well, if you could go through a curve at a higher gear than maybe what other people, so then when you come out of the curve and it's a straightaway, you can get up to fourth gear, whereas everyone else, was down in second or first and stuff. And so what I love is that as you're coming up to a curve, not only are you playing the cards for your current turn, but you're thinking the cards you're keeping, you're thinking about the next turn, which you're going to have to hit the curve and stay under the speed limit. Otherwise, anything over the speed limit, you're just taking tons of heat. But sometimes if you're behind, maybe you're okay taking a ton of heat because it's everyone else stopped before the curve and you're able to move past it. And so I think those opportunities to risk, to gamble, to go for it. And oh my gosh, I'm taking a lot of heat here, but I got to do it. And that's so
something
much fun.
I really loved about it is like, if you're behind, you can choose to push that risk more to give yourself a chance at catching up.
I know.
And I had a scenario like that where I was like, okay, I'm going to, use this, because when you play those stress cards, you don't know what it's going to be. You're going to draw, and it's going to be somewhere from 1 to 4 is what that stress is going to add to your speed. And I remember I had a turn where it was like, if I play this stress card, there's like a 50-50 chance I get around the curve, which That's like such a big thing, because if you don't make the curve, it's almost like you're a turn behind.
It's moving you a turn
people
back. Yep.
That made the curve, and it was like I can make the curve without spending all my heat, because if you need to spend heat and don't have enough, you spin out, which is not good. Trust me, I've done it several times.
We had someone do that last night.
And it was like a 50-50 chance, but I was like, if I get it, that could get me right back in this thing, you know, instead of being a turn behind. And so I chanced it, and I spun out. But I love that I had the ability to, instead of it being a racing game where it's like, I'm a turn behind, like there's just no way I'm going to catch him. Whereas the person ahead of me, they're kind of incentivized to not risk it because they're already ahead. And so, yeah, I think it's a lot of fascinating stuff here. I might as well just drop it now that my number one play of September is also Heat Pedal to the Metal.
Not the same play.
Not the same play.
Not with each other.
So we got it separately. But yeah, I had a very similar experience. I mean, I was telling you that first play of it, played a 3-player game. It was about as positive of a first experience as far as like a new addition to the collection of just like how this is going to fit my collection. Probably as good of an experience as I've had since I originally got Quacks of Quedlinburg, which that's a game we raved about as being like just a really flexible, good staple in a collection that fits a lot of situations. But I was like, man, this game feels so different from anything I have.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we don't really have racing games, so even just thematically, but just the types of decisions and everything, it just feels so fresh. And it just nails it. Like I'm kind of blown away by the design. It's so simple. Like, it is not rules heavy, but there is so much room for interesting decisions and deciding how much you want to push your luck and when you want to push your luck. And
let me just give you an example of that. So one thing I love also about a game is how powerful slipstreaming is.
Yeah.
Like slipstreaming, I feel like in some racing games, it's just kind of a little added, oh, cool, you slipstream. Slipstreaming is huge because it doesn't add to your total speed when you're going around a curve. And so I had a point here where we're coming up to a curve, and we're coming around the finish, and I think I'm in gear 1 because I needed to cool down a bunch. And I have I think I was like 5 spaces away from the curve. And all I had was, I could get up to 4, but I was like, okay, I think the people in front of me are going to get right there. And if I put myself right behind after they go, I can slipstream and get past the curve. And I had and I had to do it to slipstream because I was going to have to take 2 heat because I was 2 over the curve. Whereas if I would have just played cards, I wouldn't have had enough heat because my speed would have been too fast.
You needed the extra 2 without increasing.
I needed 2 without increasing the speed. That was so interesting. And so I love how the slipstreaming adds, it's really powerful and just adds an interesting element into it. And then, the other thing that I think you used it as well, and you were telling me to play with it, and I did, was I love the computer opponents in the game. The legends, where you basically, anytime you're not playing with a full 6, you can just fill the rest of your race with these legends, kind of computer opponents, and it works so well. I mean, because you need 2 things from it to work well. You need it to be simple, like this you can't be bogged down, taking forever. We
gotta do Red's turn over here,
and then it also has to be balanced because and that's hard to do because either they could just whoop you and that's a horrible feeling, or they're falling way behind and then it's like you're not even playing with them. They were perfect. Absolutely perfect. I mean, I could not believe that they were doing such a different thing than, it's literally you just flip a card and there's some different rules on whether they're, past the Legends track coming up to a curve or behind it. They operate differently. But every time I did it, I was like, oh my gosh, they're right there with us. And they're sometimes they're a little ahead, sometimes but it felt varied too, kind of. And I thought that was just brilliant. And that makes it, my wife and I could play a 2-player game, full 6.
There's a bunch of people that are playing this game solo because they can throw in and loving it. Yeah, it's so brilliant. And to your first point, the easy to manage, it couldn't be much easier to manage. Once you get it, you have to kind of get how they work.
I read it the first time and I was like, what am I even reading here? And then it
takes a little bit for it to click. But once it clicks, I mean, I was resolving each of the computer turns in like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, I just know exactly what they're going to do. Yeah. The modules, I mean, the base game, great.
Which is that's what I played. I haven't played any of the modules
and then
yet.
you did play with the Legends module, which lets you fill it out. But then on top of that, my second game this month, I also played with the Garage module that instead of starting with the 0, 5, and Heat upgrades in your deck, that's kind of the normal base game, you instead draft from this deck of tons of different, Garage upgrade cards. And there's so many different things. I mean, we saw one that was like, breaks one that you could either be a 1 or a 2. Like it lets you pick the number on it. There was ones that are like multiple plus signs. So it's like a uber stress, but it also gave you like icons. And that actually is a big thing, is a lot of those Garage cards give more of the icons. So the cooling icons, potentially paying heat because they're a good card that actually requires you to pay heat. And that makes that phase where you're resolving your icons even more interesting.
Yeah.
Because now you may have a lot of different things in play, and like what gear you're in may matter a lot more, because you might be able to cool things to then spend the heat. And so I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Like with a group that's played it before, I'm always going to play with that opening draft of everybody. It makes you feel a little different every game. Then we threw in the weather and conditions module, which again is super simple. You just pick one of the random like 6 weather tiles, and then for every corner you draw one of these random tiles for that corner. That's so either going to be a condition on the corner itself. So we were kind of unlucky. We had 2 corners that had the speed limit go down by 1.
No.
And so it was like really brutal getting around those corners. But then they also could be ones that, like, instead of being on the corner, they get bumped to the section between basically the whole straight after that corner. And so we had one, it came out in kind of a funny spot because it was like a really short straight, so it didn't like get applied a lot. But in that straight, you could boost for free without paying a heat. That was just the effect on that.
Flying there.
And so like you just have that option, and you have that option. We didn't get any of them, but some of the ones you can draw are a weather icon. And in that case, you reference the weather thing you drew to see what the effect is. So you might have certain parts in the track that the weather is kind of doing the effect. And this is, again, just from someone who loves variable setup. I'm like, you not only have given me 4 tracks in the base game that are all very different. The 2 I've played had a very different feel. But now any of those tracks has all these little variations. All
the curves.
Because I can randomize all the curves with different effects. So that with the Garage module, I'm just like, I am never going to get tired of pulling out a track, randomizing those, drafting the Garage cards, and playing a game. And that's not even getting into the fact that
tournament,
you can play
championship,
the campaign thing that's like 4 games back to back, and you upgrade over the course of it. So I tell you, I mean, it's not a cheap game, but for what you're getting in the box,
it's really good value.
It's like you're getting the base game with a big box expansion with it. Like if you're comparing this to kind of other games. So yeah, I'm kind of swooning a little bit over Heat. I know it's
Ryan is swooning over Heat. That's going in the title.
It's been a hot game, and it's been a hard one to get our hands on.
Swooning over Heat.
But talk about things you hear, it rolls in the family.
And just the final thing with that is all of that. And once you know what you're doing, I think it says 30 to 60 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a game that just plays quick, fast, and that's not only in the feel of the game flying around the track, but also in the time as well. So yeah, I think both of us couldn't have had a better first impressions of Heat, and so it's going to be fun to see going forward here.
To see Days of Wonder take all our money pump out expansions for this game.
We're going to buy them. But it's the type of game where more content's just awesome. And so that'll be fun. Well, there you have it, Ryan. Those are our top 3 board games of September 2023.
Hey, we got links below for all these games. If any of them sounded fun to you, I'd go check them out some more, maybe research them a little bit, see if it's something you want to add to your collection. Otherwise, we got some other videos here for you to check out, and we will see you in the next one.